Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Hovercraft just in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled, "I'm not making my son give rides to his stepsister to and from school. I am a 45-year-old man and share 3 kids with my ex, a 16-year-old son, a 14-year-old son, and an 11-year-old daughter. We divorced 10 years ago. My ex, D, remarried 8 years ago and has another biological daughter, age 7, and a stepdaughter, age 14. My kids have never really gotten along with their stepsister. She pretty much gets whatever she wants. She has always had her own room and bathroom at their mom's house, while my daughter had to share with her brothers. She does not do chores and expects my kids to do whatever she asks. Things have been really bad for the last 2 years, and a little over a year ago, my oldest came to live with me full time. A few months later, his brother followed. My oldest turned 16 last December. I bought a car for him. My only request was that he take his brother and sister to school, which he agreed to do. My sons and their stepsister go to the same school. Not long after I got him the car, Dee started asking that my son take his stepsister to and from school. My ex's neighborhood is on the route to school from my house. He refused. My ex tried to make me force him to do it. I refused. Last month, a winter storm came in. The first round was not supposed to be bad, so there was school. But quickly, the weather got worse than predicted, so the school let out early. My sons were walking to the car with a friend to head to my house. Their stepsister was standing near the car with a friend and was on her phone. She told my son, "Mom says she cannot come get us, so we need to ride with you." My son refused. She handed my son the phone and my ex was on the line. She demanded that my son give his stepsister and her friend a ride. She was across town getting groceries before the storm got worse. He refused. His stepsister started yelling at him. He ignored her and they got in the car to leave. She and her friend got in front of the car so he couldn't move. He honked his horn and told them to get the fuck out of the way. They eventually did, and my son left her and her friend at the school. A teacher saw the incident, so we were called by the administration about it. We told them what happened. My sons were not in trouble, but they said, "We need to work out this family conflict." Afterwards, my ex and her husband tried to talk to me and blamed me. I told them, "It isn't my fault you raised an entitled brat who no one likes. You have enabled her behavior for years. I have tried to get you to address it, but I am done. Until you stop being a worthless mother and stepdad, I do not want to hear anything from either of you. D, your own sons despise you. That is all on you." Then we left. I have not spoken to my ex since. I do feel bad for my daughter because tensions have been high at my ex's house, and she is there half the time. Am I the asshole? Update. A little over a week ago, my ex reached out to try and see what we could compromise on regarding the situation. I told her there was nothing to compromise about. I explained that until June, he legally cannot take her anyway. I do not want her in the car, and our son does not want her in the car. My ex said it simply is not doable for her to take her or for her dad to take her to school every day. If our son could take her on Tuesdays, they could do the other days. I told her no. This Tuesday, their stepsister demanded a ride. My son told her no, and she pushed him. A teacher saw it, and she is facing possible in-school suspension. Disciplinary issues like this could compromise her inter-district transfer. Update 2. Contrary to popular belief, my son's car was not keyed or anything like that. After the incident in the update, my sons and their stepsister ignored each other at school. Since that incident, my ex has tried to act sweet and kind when we have interacted. All involved schools let out last week for summer. On Monday, I had a meeting run long and could not drop my daughter off at my ex's as I typically do. So I had my son do the drop-off for me. When he got there, my ex asked to talk to him for a minute. She asked if she pays him, he would agree to take his stepsister to and from school starting in the fall. As mentioned in my comments, my ex has switched shifts, so she cannot pick up her stepdaughter from school. Her husband typically has to leave work to get his daughter from school, and that is what has happened most days. But it is starting to cause issues at his job. My son told her no and came home. That night, she called me and asked if I would be interested in doing joint family therapy with her and all 3 of our kids. I told her that before that can happen, she, her husband, and her stepdaughter need to make a full and complete apology to our kids for their treatment over the years. She said, "I do not know if I can make that happen." I told her, "Well, that is what needs to happen before I would consider your proposal." This morning, she forwarded me some texts from one of her friends who is a teacher at the high school my ex's stepdaughter would have to attend if she switches schools. She was telling my ex that there are only a few spots left in the few honors and AP courses that sophomores can take. So if the stepdaughter wants to be in those classes, she needs to enroll in the school now. So my ex then said, "I am desperate. I want her to stay where she is at. That is only possible if our oldest son agrees to take her. But if I need to switch schools for her, I need to know now." I responded, "This ain't got shit to do with our kids. And the fact that you are bending yourself into pretzels for stepdaughter is the problem, because you do not do that shit for our kids. Do not contact me unless it is about our kids." Tack Wombat said, "It is strange that his ex-wife doesn't seem to understand why her oldest son wants nothing to do with her stepdaughter, or realize that this is the consequence of her favoring the stepdaughter over her older biological children." To this Trouble Walking said, "My favorite part was the ex telling OP she needed to know right now if their son would be driving his stepsister in the fall. Ma'am, you've had that answer since March. Don't try to force urgency on a situation that was resolved 3 months earlier." Il Palazzo said, "It is so important that OP's son drives his stepsister, but apparently not important enough to make her apologize. That says a lot about this family, doesn't it? No matter how desperate she is, she can't even force an apology from her own daughter." This next post was made by a throwaway account in the relationship advice subreddit. The post is titled, "My GF has opened up to me extensively about the abuse she suffered. Her stories are starting to contradict each other and I'm starting to suspect something. I am currently in a 3-year relationship with a 24-year-old woman named Kathy. I'll spare you all the details about her personality, but I love her dearly. I fully intend to marry her when the time is right for both of us. On our first date, Kathy warned me that she had post-traumatic stress disorder from past trauma. Some of the things she has told me have been so devastating that they made me physically ill. As we talked and ate, she told me that she lost her virginity when her stepfather forced himself on her while she was asleep. I, a grown man, started crying in the middle of the restaurant. She assured me that she was in therapy and was working through her issues. As time has gone on, more and more details about her past have come up. I am incredibly happy that she is willing to share all of this with me because I want to support her, but there have been so many contradictions that I am confused. I don't even know how to bring them up. Here are several of the ones that make the least sense. She told me that her biological father kicked her so hard when she was 7 that it broke her wrist in 2 places. Later, when we were taking a bike ride together, she said, "I've never broken a bone and don't intend to now." She told me that her mother used to put a belt, a stick, and a wrench on the table and tell her to choose. She said she picked the wrench because, fuck her, that's why. This is a scene from Good Will Hunting, told almost verbatim. She has no marks or scars from this. She told me that after her stepfather abused her for several months, she lived with her grandparents for the rest of high school. Later, she contradicted herself and said she was homeless and couch surfing for her last 2 years of high school. She told me that she dropped out of high school because she had to escape from a gang who was trying to make her work as a prostitute. But when I met her, she was a student at a reputable university. She never went to community college. I don't think it's even possible to get into a school like that with nothing more than a GED. She told me that to cope with her past trauma, she did almost every drug and was barely sober for more than a week for 2 years. Later, when we smoked weed together, she got super high and said she had never tripped harder. I don't think someone who has done LSD and mushrooms would say that after smoking pot. It doesn't make sense. I feel like a monster for asking, was she even abused? I could understand 1 or 2 contradictions based on some inaccurate memories, but really, why the movie scene monologue? Why does everything point to her having a privileged upbringing with the brand new Range Rover she bought as a freshman and a fancy college degree with no debt? I don't know how to bring this up or how to make sense of any of this. I can't bring the issue up because if she was abused, it would crush her to be doubted. Update. A lot of people have expressed interest in an update to my situation, and since it is finally resolved, I figured I would take a minute to write out what happened. Admittedly, this actually ended last week, and I spent the following several days moving out. I haven't had a chance to update. A whole lot of thoughts on the matter have been stewing, so I'm afraid this is going to be long. For those of you who just want to know what happened and move on, she lied. We broke up. She tried to save our relationship by lying. I have ghosted her. For everyone else, my last post can be found here. A short synopsis of the situation is that my girlfriend spent the entirety of our relationship opening up to me about how she suffered horrific abuse from just about everyone in her personal life, yet her stories did not add up in the slightest. After reading through nearly every single response to my post, I came to two conclusions. My girlfriend was lying about, at the very least, the extent of her abuse, and she was only going to continue escalating these lies unless I put a stop to it. Many people told me both in comments and direct messages that if I were to directly confront her about my suspicions, she would immediately gaslight me or deflect by calling me a monster for not believing her. I agreed this was likely, so I went the route of stalking her on social media. I'm not proud of it, but I spent well over 10 hours stalking her on Facebook. I hadn't logged into Facebook since early in our relationship, but she seemed to be using it fairly often. Through my search, I discovered two things that she couldn't possibly explain away. She has another Facebook she uses for close friends and family. The Facebook page she has me on is reserved for friends from online games, giveaways, and so on. This all came to light when I started messaging her Facebook friends. I sent them a copy-pasted message. Hey, I'm Clara's boyfriend. I know this is out of the blue, but would you mind if I asked you a question? I wanted to get her a gift and was hoping for a bit of advice. The majority of the people didn't respond. Fair enough, I assume many of the messages got automatically filtered. Of those who did respond, the vast majority didn't really know Clara or only knew her online or didn't remember her at all. It was bizarre. Where were her college friends? Her not having high school friends would be right in line with what she told me before, but I know she has friends from college because she hangs out with them regularly. Or at least she did until we went into lockdown. Eventually, I figured it out. She had another Facebook. It was a total stroke of luck that led me to it. She happened to have one single friend who was on both of her Facebook pages. And when stalking her friend's friends, I found my girlfriend's second page. On her real Facebook page, everything she told me completely unraveled. Dozens of high school friends. Pictures from her high school days, ranging from class trips to dressing room pictures of her trying on new clothes to her sweet 16. Pictures with her parents with whom she seemed very happy to be having her picture taken. Pictures of her standing in front of a very large, very non-ghetto suburban house. Then I found the picture of her standing in front of her brand new Range Rover. At this point, I had already decided our relationship was over. There's no explaining that. If she had mental illness so severe that she had deluded herself into believing everything she told me, she needed therapy, not a boyfriend. If all of those stories were just plain old lies, I wouldn't even know what to feel. Taking advice from the last post, I decided to ask about the Range Rover. I wanted to expose her and figured it was an innocent enough topic to bring up out of the blue. She was sitting on the couch reading a magazine, so I walked up and asked her about her car. I said it was really nice and if she had inherited some money or something to be able to afford it. She gave me a long theatrical inhale and exhale. She then asked me to promise not to be shocked, but it was Pandora's box. Knowing that she was about to feed me another helping of nonsense, I told her I wanted to hear it anyway. She covered up the Range Rover purchase by telling me that when she was homeless, she was forced into prostitution by an abusive pimp. She said that with the money she saved by overcharging clients and hiding tips from him, she was eventually able to afford the car. Then she asked if I still loved her despite her past. So that was the end of that. I called her a liar on the spot. Aside from everything else, what really ticked me off about this lie is street prostitutes don't make nearly enough money in tips to be able to buy an expensive car and pay for a college education. Then I told her that I saw her real Facebook, all of those pictures. For the first time in our relationship, she didn't have an explanation. I started my move out the next morning, the lease be damned, and finally was done with it in 3 days. She has frantically texted me saying she could explain and she was ready to tell me the truth. Yeah, the truth. I'm almost tempted to ask her for it just so I can experience another wild tale. Maybe this time about her experience with witness protection on the run from the mafia or some other ludicrous story. Thanks again for all of the advice and help, everyone. I feel like a total idiot for wasting 3 years of my life with her, but I have high hopes for my future. I'm going to take a break from dating for a while though. Right now, I'm staying at a buddy's house who has been nothing short of amazing. She does not know where I am. Zool said, I know this is a controversial take on Reddit, but people like Kathy or Clara are the reason I back away slowly when someone trauma dumps on me during first meetings both in real life and on the internet. I have extreme skepticism when people present stories of horrific abuse at initial meetings. It's really bizarre that I've had to develop this policy, but there you go. Post.com said, I knew a girl who lied about having cancer. She would have friends drop her off at the hospital for chemotherapy, then put bandages on her chest and play on her phone in the lobby. Then she'd ask to be picked up. It's crazy the lengths people will go to for attention. This final post was made in the advice subreddit by a deleted user. The post is titled, I think my parents' advice is destroying my job search. Since I came home from my first year of college in May, I've been looking for a new job with no success. I haven't even gotten as far as being interviewed, despite having been on a job hunt since May. Finally, in mid-July, I'm getting a glimmer of hope. The bakery department at the supermarket where I've been a part-time cashier and bagger for over 2 years is seeking help. Not only would I enjoy working at the bakery, but I would also receive more hours. I'm very hopeful that I will get this job because I have always exceeded expectations in every performance review and am overall a very good employee. However, I worry that the advice my parents are giving me might hurt my chances of getting this job. My parents, who have both not had to worry about getting a job since the early 1990s, tell me to visit the manager and check in on the application at least once a day or call to check on it. I feel like this would be very annoying for the manager, and I don't want to come off as bothersome. Earlier this summer, I was applying to a coffee shop and took their advice. I went in every day, asked for the manager, explained who I was, that I had applied, and that I just wanted to check in on the application. My parents even told me to call later in the day, which I refused to do, thinking it would just be nagging. I apparently made an impact there because the third time I came into the coffee shop, the head barista looked at me, sighed very loudly, and said, "I'll go get him." 5 minutes later, I was being interviewed by the manager. For 1 minute, literally. I was asked 3 questions which were just to verify information on the application and then told to stop calling them. They never called back. I'm worried that the advice my parents are giving me is one of the reasons why I seem to struggle to get a job. They tell me that nothing has changed in the almost 20 years since they got their jobs, and that what worked for them will work for me. I really want to get this position in the bakery. What advice would you give me, or is my parents' strategy correct? Update. Sometimes when work is slow, I like to hit surprise me on your website, and I was truly surprised when I came across a question I had sent in over 8 years ago. I remembered that I had emailed you exasperated with my parents' advice and you had responded. I felt so validated and reassured by what you said. A few years after the incident I had emailed about, my parents relocated for my father's work. My mother then got to experience firsthand the joys of modern job hunting. I had to show her how to make a resume, how to turn it into a PDF, how to upload it, and reassure her that yes, even though you just uploaded that PDF, you now have to retype all of that information again. She had relocated to the other side of the country and had no network or any modern tools one uses to get a job nowadays. She didn't even bother to check what the process was to transfer her nursing licenses and spent months unemployed while that was getting figured out. I think she just thought she could walk into a hospital and get a job just like she had in the 90s. Experiencing their bad advice firsthand ended most of their vintage notions. I'm now newly 27. Your advice was to trust my instincts, and I have. I worked a myriad of odd jobs during and after college and kind of flitted around trying to figure myself out. My parents offered lots of advice for what I should do, and I have done none of it. After settling into an office job a few years ago, I just accepted a position as an office manager, which will come with a 25% raise. A great thing to get right before my wedding this winter. I read your posts on negotiating salary and vacation time and interviewing. You've been a resource for me for almost a decade now. Thank you for the validation you gave my younger self. She was new and deeply insecure, and you allowed her a moment where she could print out a blog post and yell, "See, you're the wrong one," at her poor, misguided mother. I think I may have even hung your response on our fridge. Hopefully, I'll never have to write for your advice again. Sean said, out-of-date job hunting tips can be actively damaging. The number of times I heard my parents or family friends' kids say, just go hand in your resume in person, or any other antiquated advice drove me mad. Job hunting is so different these days, even compared to when I started working. The idea of visiting a business in person with a resume is laughable. I knew people younger than me who tried it, and people wouldn't even take them. They'd say apply online, because most chain stores aren't even empowered to accept applications these days. I worked in retail management, and we had Christmas casual positions where we liked 2 of the workers and would have had more work for them, only to be told it was policy for them to reapply and re-interview for what was essentially the same roles. To this, Ganj Ro said, I remember seeing a story a while back. A new graduate was trying to get a job, and the dad was just like the parents in this story. The new graduate kept arguing that no, ignoring the online applications only sign to hand the resume to the manager would not show gumption. The dad kept replying that's how he got his job. Come Thanksgiving, the new graduate asked the uncle what he would do if someone followed the dad's advice. The uncle replied that he'd throw away the application on the spot because the prospective employee had demonstrated that they cannot follow basic directions. The dad shut up after that. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.